Hey everybody, it's Bust with Busted Strategies number 59. Jumping into a Crimson Vow Draft. Let's see what shows up here. So yeah, as this gets ready, if you're enjoying this on your Friday morning, the November the 19th morning, we'll be streaming later in the day today. Should be around 10 in the morning. I haven't quite decided. I was planning on drafting Magic, but I saw the new League of Legends came out, and so I might just end up playing that. But we'll definitely be streaming from like 10 to 1 or so, and then the regular streams on Saturday and Sunday will be happening as well. So we'll see. I haven't decided if I want to play League or not, but we'll definitely be out there if you want to come hang out. And then I've been wanting to try Howling Moon. There is, as far as like win rates go, the green red deck has been the current best one as far as 17 lands lets us know. And otherwise, we aren't missing out on too much. There's the wedding security, which is okay. The Weaver of Blossoms, I do really like. This just gives us so many options in terms of deck building and opening bombs and stuff. And then the Lacerate Flesh is a pretty like okay but low quality removal spell. And so I think the Howling Moon is fine. This is a pretty like high risk, high reward pick though, right? Is it if you're not playing wolves and werewolves, it's only kind of half useful. And then even if it's only being half useful, it only, our opponent gets to decide when they want to give us tokens. But it does work on both turns, right? Whereas with Nightfall or Daybreak, whatever we're calling it in this format, if we play two spells on our opponent's turn, then it still stays nighttime. But this still gives us the cards. It doesn't only care about our opponent's turn. And so, as we start with the Howling Moon, we have a Child of the Pack, happy enough to come in and snatch this one up. There is, again, a second Weaver of Blossoms we would love to take, but the Child of the Pack is just the big old build around in this. And my big thing with Child of the Pack is like, why weren't cards like this in the Werewolf set? Like, it was just so much better than things like Kessig Naturalist. I think this would have even held its ground in Midnight Hunt Limited, but wild that stuff like that wasn't printed in the previous set. And then again, another pack of turds. There's some Heron of Hope is fine, but beyond that, none of these cards are particularly playable. Okay, well, the things continue. We have a Lampholt Raconteur, which is it's not, in my opinion, like super great in the Werewolves deck, but it's fine. Also, kind of like Weary Prisoner is kind of growing on me. Not in a deck like this. We tend to be doing a fair amount of attacking in what we're going to be doing here, but if you're in kind of like a red control-y deck, right? If you're playing like black-red control, or even to a degree like red-blue, I think this guy can be interesting. It's like most of the time if you're planning on being the control, having him come down and be a blocker for a few turns with nothing in the format can kill him, and then on like turn 7 or turn 8, just attacking as this big monster. Pretty interesting. Your opponent can mess with him, in terms of forcing him to attack maybe when you don't want him to, but I think it's interesting. But yeah, we're taking the Raconteur here. All right, well, the Wolf and Werewolf cards keep rolling through. Runebound Wolf is completely fine. I guess he gives me a moment to stop and say, we aren't trying to be like super aggressive with this deck. It's very similar to the blue black zombie decks of Midnight Hunt, where we're going to be like this really controlly deck. We're going to like board stall until we have Child of the Pack on board and generate some dudes, and then just have kind of like this overwhelming presence. But you can have these draws to where you curve out like Runebound Wolf into a 3, into another 2 plus an Abrade. And then you just make this big like tempo draw and beat someone that stumbles. And so this deck is certainly capable of doing that. But I don't want us to like see us picking up these 2-drops and thinking that we're going to be particularly aggressive today. That's not the case. We're much more mid-rangey. Okay, I would like a Reckless Impulse, but we don't have any removal up to this point, so I'm going to go ahead and snatch our first Lacerate Flesh. I don't really want more than 1. But I definitely don't want to have 0. And so we're just going to go ahead and pick one up. At the end of the day, if we had to have 0 between the Lacerate Flesh and the Reckless Impulse, we would want the 0 to be the Impulse. Okay, Lightning Wolf is fine enough in this, but I am kind of like moderately interested in seeing what we can do with Ancestral Angers in this type of deck. I haven't got to try the Ancestral Anger Werewolves deck, But if you do end up with like a bunch of kind of like the weary jailer or whatever that guy was called, you can, give him trample and have him be a big boy, and then just pass it to your opponent's turn and boost up the lacerate flesh. I think I want to take a risk on these. Like if we want a lightning wolf, we're going to get a lightning wolf, right? Same thing applies to snarling wolf. But if we get kind of a stack of ancestral angers, we might be able to get some usage out of that. Just the actual the actual same thing kind of gets done with the spiked ripsaw. Yeah, we'll see. I don't like the ripsaw and weaver blossoms. We may actually end up with if we end up with a couple Lambolt Harriers or the Devil's card, may work out. Now this is kind of interesting here. I never expect to get an 8th pick Weaver of Blossoms. I think this card is ridiculously strong and fantastic, and we have been passing a lot of Evolving Wilds as well. But the Weaver of Blossoms we could pick up at pick 9 and pick 10 if things play out that way. I think there was one in this pack. And then I know that there was another one. I just saw them and assumed that they would never table, but seeing this one come around at 8th pick has me a bit interested. Maybe, in the maybe land. But here, this is where we'll land on the Lightning Wolf. I don't think we'll end up playing it, but it could do it. Here's another Ancestral Anger. Cool. Gonna play any of these. If we play something, the Blood Servitor is the only way for red-green to get blood tokens, so I don't think we're gonna want to play it, but it's got a possibility. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Howling Moon will keep out here as a creature. Why does my cursor have a plus on it now? I'm gonna go ahead and take the Servitor out. We'll check up on him in the deck building. I don't think he's gonna make it. Don't want to play the Ripsaw. And then, yeah, like I said, with the Lightning Wolf, probably won't even make the cut in this deck. We already have a bunch of 4-drops, but they're very easy to pick up. Okay, well, I think we're stuck with the Oakshade Stalker here. This is a real turd of a pack. I mean, we could look to see if if we could consider playing like a Fierce Retribution, because our removal is just so bad at this point. Or like I just don't really want to be first picking a Fearful Villager. Like this seems horrible. It does not seem good. But there's not any bomb cards. We opened a land, and so I think we just have to take the Stalker. Hopefully, we'll table something out of here. Okay, where's all the cards that we want? This is ridiculous. So I guess we'll take the Fierce Retribution. Again, if we end up with like a Weaver of Blossoms and a Terramorphic Expanse or something, we can certainly play this. But what a low roll of an open for us. I'm tempted to say like, what happens if we just take Sundown Pass and see if we can't wheel the Fierce Retribution or something? But it's just a low roll of opens. We weren't getting cut or anything there. All right, well, here we want to be taking the Abrade. I would love to pick up a Flourishing Hunter or two. These guys just kind of do everything. Again, we're a really kind of like slow, dirtily deck. We're going to try and take big advantages of things like Child of the Pack. And this gain 6 kind of really rips the hopes and dreams out of a lot of our opponents' boards. And so that would be sweet if this thing tabled. I don't think it will. I think if like when this pack comes back, probably have like the Spider. Maybe we'll get a Fearful Villager or a Snarling Wolf. I don't think the Hunter will be here, but we need to pick up our interactivity with the Abrade. And well, a second Weaver of Blossoms is gonna be the pick. And the big thing with these is kind of like in the next pack, if we open like Hullbreaker Horror or if we open Toxrill, then we could just play it. There's no question about it. We could just slam it in our deck. And then if we don't, we still have the synergies for these things, right? We have the excess mana getting pumped into Child of the Pack. We have the Howling Moon to deal with this being a wolf. And so it's not like it just ramps. There's lots of things that we can be doing with these guys. Okay, well, the Ridge Wolf is fine. It's not spectacular, but it's a werewolf. Then do we need to pick up like these 4s? I'm not amped about it. I do really prefer the Riphook Raider to the likes of Lightning Wolf. And so that's where we'll look to pick up. But So many spiked ripsaws running around. I just want nothing to do with that. Okay, well, we can pick up another wolf. It's like I'm really just more interested in the Falconwrath Celebrants, though. I really like picking up blood tokens, and there's just not that many ways to do it in green-red. It has to be in red. You have to be outside of like the Celebrants. It's just kind of like these lacerate fleshes, and then kind of the weirdo cards, like if you're trying to play like a 2-drop vampire or something. Not anything too spectacular, right? The Celebrant can generate a blood token, but you don't really want these in this style of deck. But the Ancestral Angers have died off. I don't think we're going to be doing too much with Ancestral Angers and Frenzied Devils and Lampolt Raconteurs. We could take it just to, just in case, but it feels a little sketchy. In this pack, we were expecting something back out of pack 9, weren't we? This was our open that we wheeled. That sucks. Is the Nature's Embrace. I think we'd rather just play Bloody Betrayal here. Might make the cut in our deck, as we just don't have too much interactivity. Ooh, the Flourishing Hunter wheeled, though. Okay. Maybe we'll end up with 2 of these. That would be nice. The Sure Strike. Don't really want to play it. I really prefer Massive Mites to the lack of Sure Strikes. It keeps you from having to be like, oh, maybe we'll play Ancestral Anger. But we'll see. I don't want to play it, but it could be okay here. Lantern Flare. Let me double check on this. This is a removal, right? There's no green-red cards we really care about here, right? There's just a Fearful Villager. We're looking to splash white, and that's where the Lantern Flare would fall. So if you pay 2 mana, right? You pay 1 and a white, deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of creatures you control. Okay. Then if you cleave it, it takes that creature's control off and becomes an X spell. Okay. I think we can play it, and we can play the Fierce Retribution. I would like to pick up like one more way to generate some white mana, but it's not a necessity. Here we got a Flame Blessed Bolt. Perfect. And then I'm still wanting to try out Nature's Embraces. We'll have to see if this wheels. I know there were some going around earlier. Maybe. It just feels like kind of one of these cards that it doesn't seem like spectacular, but it could work out. There is an Ancestral Anger here as well. Maybe that'll table. Okay. So fairly weak pack. There is a Bleed Dry running around at this stage, but I think we just need the Fearful Villager. Would we rather have the Flourishing Hunter? We have 4 4-drops at this point. Maybe we do want to just go big. There was the Fearful Villager in our opening pack. It was the only red card, so some red drafter might snatch it from us, but I think we want to do this. I want to go big with the Hunter, and then maybe one of those 3-drops a wheel. We're looking at... oh man, and seeing things like a Braid show up, maybe it will wheel. Definitely looking to pass on the Oakshade Stalker. It's like, oh, we're trying to wheel Ancestral Anger. I think if we're being real, these Ancestral Angers aren't going to make the cut. But I do want to kind of keep in the back of my brain piece that you may assemble a deck one day where you've got a bunch of Hook-handed Mariners and a bunch of Flourishing Hunters, and you have some just need a way to kind of crush through if you don't have any like Massive Mites or anything. I could see it. But here, the Gatekeeper's fine. We need a little bit more in the early game, and he fits in there wonderfully. And so he fits much better in like a really aggressive deck, but it'll get the job done for what we need. Could even look to play a Kessig Flamebreaker. Not excited about it, but not playing Crushing Canopy, not splashing any of these white cards. Right, Fearful Villager. Here's the Ancestral Anger. We could do it. I don't think we want 3 Flourishing Hunters, though. I think that's a little greedy. Let's pick up the Villager out of that one. Oh, wow. Are you serious? Man, maybe we will hit this Fearful Villager next if we're getting 8th pick Flame bolts. Why is there a Traveling Minister still in this pack? And a Blood Fountain? Whew. Wow. Okay, with the Fearful Villager tabled. The Ancestral Anger did, but oh, there's also a Nature's Embrace. Let's be real. We're not playing Ancestral Angers. I know. I like to meme it up a little bit, but I don't think that's where it's gonna be. Don't think that's it. Sure, Strike can come out. Pick up the uncommon. Okay, okay. So yeah, we got ourselves a legitimate deck here. Let's see what we can do with this. We're not playing the wolf, the ripsaw. Oh my god, I hate this sideboard thing. So annoying. Probably not playing Sure Strike or the Bloody Betrayal, but we'll wait until we're looking at the deck building. Picked up the 2 bolts, 2 abrades, lacerate flesh. Really good removal here today. Not even counting the guaranteed removal in the retribution. Can this hit players? Pretty sure it can't, right? Can't cleave a player. Deals X damage to a creature or planeswalker. You gain X. Okay. Alright. I dig it. So let's see. Let me double check out in sideboard land here if we want to play any of this stuff. We'll just remember we have a Sure Strike. I don't think there was anything else. I don't need to play the Ripsaw. Okay. So I think, yeah, like the first question is, do we want to play these white cards? So if we want to play Fierce Retribution, Lantern Flare, that would be where like Nature's Embrace comes in. Do we feel like our removal package is good enough without playing these? I mean, our removal is pretty decent, right? Between we've got the 2 abrades, the 2 bolts, the lacerate flesh. We don't have any of like the big late game clears though. So, but if we're gonna play one of these decks to where we're playing, say like 9 spells and then 15 or 16 creatures, then this pile just doesn't fit. So it's kind of tough. In my opinion, one of the big weaknesses to green red is just there's no answer to your opponent's big units. We can't deal. We're all damage based, and we can't kill a 5/5. And so that's where like the Fierce Retribution and the Lantern Flare would come in. But do we really want to be playing like a Nature's Embrace to make that work? Probably not. But let's see here real quick. Let's get this cleaned up just a touch. I don't think we want to. How many creatures do we have at first? 16. So we would really just be looking to cut like 1 creature out of here. I don't really want the Raconteur, but I think I'm just looking to cut out like Kessig Flame Breather. I'm gonna keep calling this Flame Breather, but I know how to make words good. And then technically Howling Moon would be kind of like half of a creature. I don't think we can count it. So let's let that stay out here. The Sure Strike can come out. And I mean, it does get us to 40 cards if we just take out this white package. But I mean, I feel like we're not going to be winning any of these games quickly. I would like to get this package in. So let's see. We're not going to play Bloody Betrayal. Kind of want the Massive Might to stay. Lantern Flare, Retribution can be over here in expensive land. Then we do have this kind of really awkward curve. I don't want to play 3 planes. I think we might just play 2. And then add in a forest. So if we're looking to do stuff like this, well, we can keep our 4 2-drops. Where do we start to cut creatures out, though? I don't like it. I just do not like playing this package. I don't think we can do this. Embrace, the Flare, the Retribution. Do we still have out here? Do we ever want to bring in Lightning Wolf? Man, we got more options, don't we? Flame Breathers, whatever. Could be Lightning Wolf. 4/4 feels like a bit much, but we do have the 2 Weavers. What do we think about just playing like a Spiked Ripsaw? I've never had like very much success with something like Spiked Ripsaw. I know we've gotten like beat up by it a few times. But in general, I don't think it's that great. But it's like we are kind of looking for ways to give our units trample. I wanted to call it overwhelm, but we want to give them trample. And so it's like I'm kind of looking at this and it's like, well, we don't have that many spells. What if we take like the Raconteur out? And then we put in like 2 lightning wolves, or we put in a lightning wolf and a lightning wolf and a, what are you called? Sword. Sword. Put in the sword thing. I think I'm kind of okay with this. Lightning wolf. Right, because our options would be like the Ancestral Angers, which we don't want to do. Could look, maybe we play a Bloody Betrayal instead of the Trample card. It just feels like we're gonna be kind of like a go wide grindy kind of thing. Maybe the Bloody Betrayal. We would want to be like much more aggressive. I think we could stay away from that. What if we just look to bring in the Sure Strike so we have 2 combat tricks instead of 1? It's like I really just want to be giving these Flourishing Hunters trample. But I don't think I like it. I'm kind of leaning towards just adding in the second wolf. I guess it does give us a ton of stats, and we have a lot of mana that we can do with the Weaver. Just never been happy with this equipment. 2 bolts, Lacerate Flesh, 1 Massive Might. So yeah, I think could add in an additional wolf. All right. Well, I think I'm happy enough with this. Flourishing Hunter. Okay. Let's do battle. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's got the tools to go far. This isn't the Howling Moon isn't what I would consider to be like a super bomb quality card. And then given the opportunity, I would rather be playing the kind of do everything worm, whatever he's called, like the 7 mana, 7/6 trample reach, gain 5, exile from your graveyard, gain another 5. And if you have things like that, you don't have to be like, how do I get my dudes trample? But we'll see. All right, this is certainly not a keeper. That's a little better. It's like I'm tempted to just keep the Celebrants and get rid of the Massive Might. And that's probably a little greedy on the draw, but we don't have any targets for this thing. What are we going to target with a Massive Might? Absolutely nothing. Do we risk running this into Syncopate? I think that's fine. If their kind of catch-all removal spell gets spent on a hungry Ridge Wolf, that seems good. Okay. That's gonna die. FYI, that Whispering Wizard's getting out of here. But these are the kind of draws and the plays in the games I'm talking about with this deck, as to where we aren't an aggro deck, right? We have like 4 4-drops and a handful of 3s and a bunch of random dudes that can kind of just like trade early, but the running into draws like this where we get to spend 1 mana and kill their 4-drop. Now they're dropping like Mischievous Catgeists and trying to get values in this way. Like, these are the kind of draws where we can, act like an aggro deck and look like the blue-black zombies deck, even though we're really planning on being this kind of mid-rangey ground fest. Got him. Got him good. Curious, like I was always, I saw the other day, I guess, that the double feature is coming out in paper, which makes sense, where they're going to combine Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. Kind of like thinking to the future as to what those drafts will look like. I think it'll be interesting. Here we're on the draw. the Oakshade Stalker is really good at shutting down a board, right? 3/3s for 3 are pretty decent in this format. We don't have to just play it as like a flash thing. This is a 3/3 for 3 with upside. And I think we can keep this. We get like 4 draws and another, or 3 draws before we have to add the dude, and then 4 draws for a mountain. I think it's fine. The aggressively oriented traveling minister. Not sitting around gaining the life. Okay. Uh-oh. We're gonna get counterspelled. We'll give that some time. That instacast, so he shouldn't have any counter spells in his hand. Where'd you go? We had a 4-drop, right? Let's get the Lightning Wolf down. Keep playing on curve. We might end up flashing out this Oakshade Stalker at some point, but I would like to find ourselves in a place to where we can play 2 units in the same turn. I think that would be pretty big. But see, like, this Flourishing Hunter will catch us up so much if he comes down, right? He's just kind of like dirtling in for 3 damage a turn, and if we gain the shitload of health off of this thing, it's just canceled out so much of the work that he's done. Alright, well, I'm not expecting much on the flash out of this Oakshade Stalker, but we'll give it a try. Adding just like, we're only getting to add 1 card this turn, right? And so adding in Flourishing Hunter just doesn't feel great. Or adding in Howling Moon doesn't feel great. Oh, has he drawn the counter now? This is other creatures you control. I thought he was going to gain himself some big health. Ugh, so close to getting these going. This sucks so much. How big? We can't even make a dude big enough. We can't like play the Ripsaw, put it on something, and then gain a bunch of health. Well, I mean, the thing we can look to do, like, I think we have to start blood tokening, right? We can easily like blood token away. Are we just dead here? No, this is only 5. We can blood token away the Ripsaw. Trying to line up something to where. Why are you just attacking with the Minister? He just doesn't think it matters anymore. But, okay, it'll land. We're not just dead, right? We get to gain 4 off of this. And then next turn, if we draw another land, we can say like +2/+2 the Hunter, put Massive Might on it, and make it a 10/10. Gain 10. That would be pretty strong. Pretty strong to say the least. We did it. We did it. Let's see if he blocks. I want to trample on this. He's going to get to like draw cards with the block here, but I think gaining the health is pretty big. All right, we got the time to do stuff now. Did we do it, fam? Did we get back in it? So 4 is going to take us to 9. He missed more damage with the Traveling Minister. That's good. Is this going to... Has he played 2 cards this turn? Give us a wolf? No. I'm going to say the infantry has to come in this turn. I don't think he gets up to lethal. I certainly didn't do the math on it, but we should have probably figured that out. He's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's 1 short. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. We should just, let's be real, we should just run this thing out. There's no reason to just sit on this. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the graveyard, 7, 8, right? He's 1 damage short unless he picks up another way to deal a point of damage. That's going to give him a blocker. We've got 11. Well, we need to deal 13, right? If he's going to deal 2 damage with Traveling Ministers. So we may win with a removal spell. If he does all of his stuff and just leaves the 1 spirit back. It's just a little too slow. If we'd picked up that 6th land, if we had to wait like 3 and 4 turns on it with cycling a bunch of blood tokens to get there. We picked it up just a little bit earlier. Damn. They were being very sloppy with those Traveling Ministers. All right. Anyways, but yeah, I just saw that the League of Legends. I don't know if it's a like Slay the Spire style game. It didn't look like a deck builder. It looked like a dungeon crawler, more along the lines of a Darkest Dungeons. I don't think it's like a full on RPG, but I'm kind of interested. Might play that for the stream stuff this weekend. I mean, kind of the way I was intending to do the weekend streams was just I want to do like the 4 videos of Magic during the week. Have that be kind of our bread and butter main game content, and then on the weekends just kind of stream what's interesting. Typically that interesting thing would just be Magic, but if a new Runeterra set comes out, we could feel free to stream that. The various auto battlers I'm very into could stream something like that. It's planning on playing Magic for the most part, but kind of see what turns up and how we want to go about that. It is unfortunate. I know I've said it like over and over again at this point, but it's like I was like, okay, well I have PTO. Let's take it to stream Magic when the new set comes out, and so you go to the Magic Arena schedule. It just doesn't have anything in relation to you know what's happening in terms of the release of the new cards. And so it's like, okay, well, you go to the main Wizard site and it says that the set will be released on November the 19th. And so it's like, okay, well, I guess that's when it's going to happen. If that's, you know, it makes sense that the cards would become available on their release day. And then it was like a week later. It seems like you had to wait until the beginning of the beginning of November for them to even post that on the arena schedule that something would be happening. It's like, this is fucking absurd. Like, I just want to give you my money. Like, why do you make it so challenging for me to give you money? And I guess that's the life of Wizards. All right, well here, back to the game. I've got that bitch fest out of the way. I'm a little bit worried about what's happening here. I mean, it feels like we should have had more more happen up to this point, but it seems he's got so many cards in hand. It just feels like we're pretty far behind. No, I don't want to give trample. Right, we need something now. I mean, we've drawn. What do we draw? Like, is it just because we've drawn 6 land up to this point? Feels like he's got a ton of cards in hand, and he's just gonna play a removal on our gatekeeper, and we're dead. that's what this one feels like. Well, at least we drew a 6-drop here. We'll just go ahead and get the attack in first. It's like, it feels like it's going to get removaled, but like if we play the Flourishing Hunter, it's not going to gain health anyways. They're just going to play the removal in response. Ooh, interesting. They discarded a dude. So they just got the handful of spells over here. They discarded Blood Hypnotist. I get that's not very good at this stage of the game, but interesting seeing that to go. All right, the full package of Flourishing Hunters have been dropped. Has to be like a Bleed Dry, right? Okay. There's no reason to give it trample. He just won't block it with Belligerent Guest if that's the case. Where does this get us? It's still okay to just attack with everything. We're gonna lose 1 to the Pyre spawn, but then his Phalanx can't kill the big hunter. The most he can do. Let's keep attacking. And I think we want to move this back over to the Lightning Wolf. Kind of spread out the damages, since he's gonna get a good block on something forever with the Phalanx. Don't like what's happening here. So, I mean, if we attack with both, say he blocks the Hunter with the Phalanx, then he puts Catapult Captain. He would just not do that, right? Well, I mean, I guess if we end up trading one of these things for Catapult Captain, it's okay. But if we first strike the Lightning Wolf, he's going to block it with the Phalanx. Then that one's just kind of canceled. And then otherwise, we'd be trading Flourishing Hunter for his Catapult Captain. I think that's fine. Oh, if we just start killing dudes, though, that's sweet. I'm on board with that. 'Cause now that he's to a space to where, say he draws a land, then he just can't kill our Flourishing Hunter, right? When he had the Flame Breather on board, he could uh, triple block the Hunter and take it down, but now it's not the case. I forget that this exile stuff, it's not relevant for our deck, but see how much better our attacks are now, right? He just can't kill the Hunter, so something just has to die to it. I mean, he could have picked up a combat trick or something. Like, congratulations if you did, but he's getting abyssed every turn now. There is a world where we should be adding mana. Like, we should be able to get up to 8, right? We have the 4-cost thing that puts dudes on the board. The 4-cost red card. Interesting. Why would you ever attack here? So, I mean, we can just hit with everything now. We don't need to give out first strikes. Why? I don't get that. Maybe he tilted or something. Or is he... Hmm. I think I think they just got a little visit from the Tilt Dragon and kind of gave up on it. So now we can just lethal, right? We can move the Ripsaw to the Werewolf. He has to double block it, and then at a minimum we get through for 4. Okay. Nice, that turned out well. I was really just counting on that attack to kill off the catapult cannon, because it is a little scary, right? If his line is going to start to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna block with this 1/4 and then throw 4 damage to face. Like, he doesn't have to win combats with the catapult thing on board. He just has to have toughness. And so if we get into like a big board stall, you can't let him have that catapult commander on the board. Right? What if he drew another Phalanx? That's going to be like 26 damage just from the Phalanxes sitting on board. And so that was the intent. I just wanted to trade for the 2/6. But yeah, I mean, if they're wanting to that block was just not good with the 1 unit. I guess if he would have drawn another, like, I guess drawing a land for him there was a bit of a disaster. Maybe that was a touch of a calculated risk and they just missed. Right? If you draw another creature, or you draw a combat trick or removal spell or something, then it doesn't look as bad. But when he only has 5 power on board, it really sucks for them there. Right. Next battle is upon us. I went and watched some movies of that League of Legends video game. I'm not going to play that. So we'll be playing Magic tomorrow on the 19th. Or I guess today, I should say, with the videos out here. It looked like I saw like a lot of the video, and it looked like it was kind of Darkest Dungeon-y, to where it was mainly focused on like the battles and not so much the RPG aspects of it. And I have no interest in reading quest text and making decisions like that. So we'll let that go. I haven't tried Darkest Dungeon 2. It looked like they're trying to make it more slay the spire and less all your units are dying kind of thing. But I haven't had a chance to give it a shot. I've been doing my non-magical time with the auto battlers and having good amounts of fun there. But this queue seems broke. Let's just cancel this and try again. There we go. All right, what do we got here? This hand is not serviceable. Well, I think I would kind of like more considerate on the play, but that's not going to happen. That's a little bit better. And so I guess we'd have to get rid of our 6-cost unit, but all right, let's battle. Not a bad collection of early game stuff to do. Not gonna drop a Flame Blessed Bolt. Well, we could. He's playing pretty heavy. Yeah, I think I want to go ahead and bolt this. He's playing like pretty heavy into Disturb, and he just milled 2 like pretty reasonable dudes to bring back, especially in the Skull Scab. And so let's just get that nonsense out of here. And so if he wants to say like play an exploit now, right? Say he has another Stitched Assistant in his hand, he can't get that huge high valued exploit off. So that feels pretty productive. I like for my day to feel productive. Then here, I think we want to throw down the Villager. It's not that much smaller than... Yeah, it's going to get countered. It's not that much smaller or bigger than the Weaver of Blossoms, but if we don't draw any more land here anytime soon, we're going to be much happier that we have the Reaver on the board. I feel like this is the probable worst unit that we have in our hand. Even now, if he plays like, if he plays like the Digraph Wolf or whatever it's called, and then we get to add, we get to add like the unit and the spell if we draw a land. Pretty nice. Feels like we're definitely falling behind though. The Disturb deck tends to have a much more powerful late game than us. He was eyeballing his graveyard there. Okay. He didn't have any spells to bring back. Alright. Well, this could be a bonus for us if he doesn't have a way to flip, or doesn't have a card to play. He's down to 2 cards now, so he may not have a play. But we're gonna start struggling here. We need some things to go right quickly. What are you doing? Oh wow! Oh wow! Interesting. I feel like we just immediately caught right back up. So what do we think about passing the turn? Kind of interesting here in that we have like the Gatekeeper, like the Gatekeeper Runebound Wolf. We can like do stuff if we just pass. Our attacks here aren't very good. It's a matter of like, do we want to flip this Weaver of Blossoms to try and get the Flourishing Hunter down next turn, or do we want to just add our 2 cards? I'm kind of looking at just adding our 2 cards. Can set the Gatekeeper to creature. So whenever, and is it when anyone? Yeah, when a player plays a land or casts a spell that shares a card type. So if we're gonna do creature, let's get our other creature on board first. I'm gonna remove his Cruel Witness. The scab is a little not scary at this stage of the game. And now we have like stuff to do if we have to pass. It kind of sucks we only have 2 wolves for our Runebound Wolf, but it's kind of what it is. He's going to send it to nighttime. Okay. Gain that extra bit of health before we send the Celebrants in. It's not like a spectacular trade that we're about to get. But if we get to trade get some of his stuff cleared out, it's going to make our future attacks with this hunter better. So say like next turn, if we come in and lacerate flesh something, then he no longer has a good block on our 6/6. And we're leaving the Cobbled Lancer on board. It can exile itself to draw a card. So we're getting a 3 power off the board either way, but this takes down his card draw abilities. And Child of the Pack. We don't have the mana to really pop off with this, but it does make the rest of our attacks look pretty good. We play the Cemetery Gatekeeper, then we're the ones just taking all of the damage. So he can make some, like, double blocks. We have 2 first strikers, which I assume he's going to want to stay away from. Unless he's, say, putting, like, Repository Scab and Foreboding Statue in front of a Gatekeeper. This is the expected block I thought we were going to get, where he just double blocks our 7/6. Now the rest of his blocks are just shit. So that's pretty positive. He'll get to flip the statue next turn, but we still feels like we're pretty ahead. And this is kind of this, neato place where if he adds a creature to the board, he's going to have to take 2 damage to do it. So maybe we should have attacked with the werewolf here. I was thinking the Blossom Wolf. I was thinking that if it dies, it kind of sucks because then we can't play our Lacerate Flesh anymore. But he would have to get like absolutely nugged if he wants to. I think that's probably a mistake not attacking with the wolf. Ooh, okay. I had to pause the video to sneeze. Not too much happened. He played Bleed Dry on our unit. Kinda whatever. Kinda whatever, am I right? We didn't flip his thing? You have to be at the end of turn to do this, right? Put an omen counter on the statue. It's at the beginning of your end step if there are 3 or more omen counters. Yeah, so you should have just flipped it. Not sure why I didn't do that. Got him. RIP. All right. Good battles. Felt like we were so far behind in that one, then it just flipped so fast. It was nice getting to play the removal. That's how it kind of feels against, like, if you're a Runeterra person playing against the Slayers deck. If you're able to keep their sacrificable dudes off the board, then they have a pretty tough time when they have to decide, okay, do I want to just play my dude for no value or not play it at all? I guess there's a lot of times in Runeterra where you just can't do it. Runeterra was pretty hard set on the rules to where you had to sacrifice stuff, but not so much here in the lands of Dominaria. Or I guess we aren't in Dominaria, are we? That's something a little different. Do we ever come in and abrade this thing? I don't think so. He's playing red-green. I think we'll get a better creature with this abrade. I bet our unit gets hit with one. if he's just passing to this place without playing any cards, that's fine. We aren't suffering from the same mana issues we did in the last game, and so I think it's okay to lose our werewolf there. That's gonna die. It's interesting that that was his play. I wonder if he just drew the Ill-Tempered Loner. right? Because I think he would want to leave our dude on board if he's just going to play the loner and try to get the 2-for-1. Interesting. We'll just get stats on board here. Seems like he has a shock, but we got a pretty reasonable hand here, all things considered. If we trade off with the belligerent guest, our cards in hand are fairly expensive. I'd come down to the life gain off of the Flourishing Hunter here. Interesting. I thought that was going to go on the wolf so that he would get the extra trample damage in. It was a different route. Ooh, nice. Let's play it slow. It'll feel much better once we get to just start spending all of our mana next turn. It could be, quite disastrous. I can say Lacerate Flesh is fine. If he has, a removal spell, gets to hit us for the point of damage, and then blast us with the Flamebreaker, that's a pretty big disaster. Alright, now we're going to have to wait a turn before we can try and get these villagers down and make an attack. Don't really want it to be going into Nightfall, but let's see. Looks like he's thinking of equipping the thing onto Pyre Spawn. Okay. He can take down our big boy this way. Oh, fucking savage. What a perfect collection of draws. Alright, yeah. Five, sure. So we can only play one card if we want to keep our turn together. We can attack with the werewolf here. Do we like that? I think it's okay. And at least now we're in this space to where if he attacks with the Pyre Spawn, it's not great. We get a trade. And then if the Pyre Spawn's enough to shut down his attacks, then we can flip-flop between... we can attack with the 7/6 and then move the equipment to the other villager. Oh my god, this is going to be brutal though, isn't it? What's this stupid thing do? Look at the top 6 cards of your library, reveal a creature, and put it in your hand. Yeah. Much better than our rare. Ugh. It feels like this is the second time that's happened to us today where we are just super far ahead. Maybe I'm thinking of a different draft, but this is so ridiculous how we've gone from super far ahead to behind just on the back of one card. Just even more card advantage. It's fucking insane. A draw 2 into a draw 2 into another draw 2. So, I mean, how do we feel about this attack? We can attack, but then we're just going to lose our dude. But, we have to play cards now, right? If we flip into Nightfall, he's just going to get to draw another creature. It's fucking stupid. Okay. We attack with the villager. No, I'm not sacrificing forests. It's just one card just sends him so ridiculously far ahead. There's nothing we can do about it. Sure. Alright, so here's another 2-for-1 for you. Yep. Let me tell you, this is a fun game of Magic right here. Let's add the one more land. If we pick up like a 5-drop, we want to be able to play the creature and do something with the equipment. Not sure. We have a handful. Really? Okay. Clever. Kind of surprised he even bothered to play this. It's like he doesn't need to block. He can send it to Nightfall and just draw a creature. And I guess you can draw a card this way, but then he just loses stats. What are you doing, guy? Oh, he just put the dude directly into play. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I'm not sure why I put the Bramble Cloak onto this thing, but sure. Just take the one with the highest casting cost. Yeah. Okay, this game's over. That's ultimately. I hate to get salty like this. It's not Fai's fault. It's just when there's so many rares that are just like so far a class beyond the comparable cards that it gets ultra frustrating when it's like what happened in our draft. Like we didn't see any cards that could we'll just say we didn't see cards that could make 2-for-1s. That's essentially what that rare does. Like we maybe saw one or two of the red, draw two. That's not like the kind of premier power level we're talking about, but it's like whenever you like it makes it when you open a land in this like format just like feels so bad, right? When you crack open your pack and it's a land, and when there's just like so many like ultra powerful cards, it just feels so bad when you run into situations like that. It's a little bit frustrating to me. Okay. On to the next one. But yeah, that's why I like hype up this werewolf dude that we have so much. The one that taps for any color of mana and flips to tap for any 2 colors of mana. It's just because games like that are so ridiculous. When you get down to, uh, the end of the game, you each have like 2 dudes on board, 1 card in hand, and you're playing off of the top. And just it's so ridiculous if you're able to draw this like random bomb rare as opposed to drawing your generic 6/6 for 6. And so that's kind of the real strength in this werewolf dude is if we have the weird removal in our sideboard that we didn't really want, but if we're playing green red, it lets us play something like Toxroll, right? You don't even have to play swamps in your deck. You can just push it into Nightfall and then tap your werewolf for double black. Usually you don't even want to play a swamp, right? Because tapping for 1 black mana just doesn't really do anything. You have to like draw your swamp and then draw the werewolf anyways, so you can like daybreak play it. But that's like what I think whenever I describe these decks and the real strength in that werewolf just being that. It lets you get those real high-powered draws and plays in because it's a pretty solid chance that you're going to draw half your deck every game. These games all go to like turn 10 and turn 15. It's not like this is particularly aggressive or tempo-oriented format to where you don't even get 6 land on the board. So why is it doing this Q thing again? I just pushed the join game button and the queue's all messed up. I'll restart the game. Okay. Oh, he's got the burning hair, Chandra. We have the burning hand version. All right, this hand's good enough. Kind of needs a little bit of help, but it's got a curve attached to it, so we'll stick to that. Making them big decisions over there. Should I stay or should I go? He stays. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck me. I pushed the wrong one. Alright, well, we'll keep this one. Ugh. I guess there's a world where this hand is better, but I don't know why I'm so bad at pushing the wrong button in this game. I seem to do it like once every 2 drafts or so. Alright. Alright. I'll take this down. We're going to be playing a creature, ideally, the next 3 turns in a row and on curve. So, we're not going to find a chance to play that Abrade anytime soon. Like, how bad is this if he has a counterspell here? Let's just send it back. If our Lightning Wolf gets syncopated, it feels pretty bad. Okay. Okay, doesn't appear as though he has the counterspell. It auto-passed back on the Lightning Wolf. So, I feel safe. We could probably just run out the Celebrants. Doesn't feel great. Let's grind a little bit here. Being in combat on your turn, if you control another wolf, put a 1/1. When he dies, gain life. Okay. That's going to be tough to outdo if we don't find an answer in the next 2 or 3 turns. Where you have blood tokens. So is our attack ever good here? Like, say we hit with the first strike wolf and the Celebrants, he has to double block the Celebrant. Say he puts like the 4/4 in front of it. Okay. And then if we attack with this, he has another... The double block with the wolf and the Ridge Wolf doesn't work, so he has to put the Mariner in front of the Lightning Wolf. Okay. Seems like we're going to kind of just like clear out the board here, but we're going to be getting, hopefully, ahead between the Stalker and pushing off with a blood token. Yep, that's positive. And a braid, sure. I'm gonna play the land and just try and get him with this Oakshade Stalker. I would like to take down the Packsong Pup. It's about to be a problem. I'm not sure, like, how much he ever attacks here, but we only have one cycle at this point anyway, so I think it's safe enough to just play the land. Not real worried about the Ridge Wolf. You got plenty of health. Just more interested in taking down the pup. It's a pretty choice Lacerate Flesh. I think we need to just go ahead and drop the pup, though, right? There's no reason to just try and, like, force him into a block with it. Doesn't seem like he has any cards, either. Then the Ambusher attack isn't that great, right? I mean, if he wants to take it down, he can just do it with the Spore Crawler. I think we're just coming in with the Werewolf. Then if he wants to double block the werewolf, we get to kill both of his creatures. Kind of makes up for the 2-for-1 a little bit. Let's go ahead and draw the card though. If we hit a shock, this will be kind of a blowout. We didn't. He started highlighting a dude. It feels like he just hit a removal spell, which is fine. He's certainly ahead of us here, though. Been pretty sweet if we had that extra card from the mulligan. It would have been sweet. There's the Flame Blessed Bolt. Day late and $1 short. Okay, well, all of our creatures will be real if we draw a creature. I think I'll take like one more hit from this Ridge Wolf, and then I'll just look to take it down. Just take it down now. Braid, not quite what we're looking for. Not looking good, squad. Not looking good. Okay, don't have an answer to that either. Okay, the land doesn't do it. So all right, I mean, it was kind of a frustrating affair here today. Between, I forget what our first loss was, but taking the accidental mulligan certainly doesn't help, and just getting blown out by big cards, kind of a dud. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I would really look at this deck as being like a 4-win deck, and so if you're gonna look at it as a 4-win deck and you variance into a +or -1, then kind of 3 wins is what it is. But we'll get this pulled up. We'll talk about this in a little bit more. All right, so here we go. Not a horrible performance from this deck, but I was hoping for a little bit more. It's a kind of one of the downsides to this is, again, it's just a really high powered format in terms of a lot of the uncommons and the rares, and for the extent of our high power to be something like Child of the Pack, it's a little bit unfortunate. And I feel like we won every game we drew Child of the Pack, but it's kind of unfortunate in the terms of, like, I could look at a Midnight Hunt draft and it could just be all commons and be like, okay, this is a 7 winner. And I've yet to see a draft in Crimson Vow that would be completely commons that I would look at and just be like, oh shit, yeah, this is going to 7. Because it gets so weird, right? The games all go so long and so late. You're going to run into a space to where, as the decks get better as you progress through the draft, you're playing someone with 5 wins, they're going to have those cards, right? It's so rare to get to that point to where you run into a completely common deck, and at that stage of the draft, and so it just, like, it's a real feels bad whenever you're in the draft. And Howling Moon was not particularly good. I wanted to try it out. I wasn't real impressed with it. We opened Curse of Hospitality, which isn't quite a playable rare. I mean, maybe we need to stop and reconsider something like this, because it does let you draw cards over and over again. But it's not like the really high-powered stuff that we're talking about here. And then we opened a Sigarda's Summons, and so it's kind of like, you get into the draft and you get going through it, and then it's just kind of like, well, I'm kind of stuck in terms of I'm never going to have that power level to win the trophy, unless things just go exceptionally right throughout the gameplay, right? You play against the high-powered deck and they stumble on their mana and you're able to take over. It's ultimately, I mean, it doesn't, I don't want to say it's not a skill-intensive format. It is. It most certainly is, but It just sucks. I ultimately find it pretty frustrating when we play the games like our second loss there, to where you play the back and forth and you just come up with a completely overwhelming advantage, and then they're able to play a draw two into a rare that draws two into a creature that draws two, and then use the rare to draw another card. And it's like, well, what like chains and sequences is this deck able to do? And even if it's like not a function of the deck we drafted, like say we drafted wrong, like what chains of events from the cards we saw throughout the draft would allow us to do something like that, right? We didn't. We saw like one draw two. We saw the one. I think we saw like one Spore Frog throughout the draft, and so it's just ultimately slightly frustrating when it comes down to that. But rants aside, let me get back to this deck, and we'll continue to talk about the werewolves. Okay, and so yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, with the werewolves, the green red deck at this time, I'm pretty sure it's the top win rate deck on 17 lands. Let me see. Let me pull it up here real quick as we're talking about this. I'm pretty sure that's the case. The analytics, the color ratings, the two colors. You have Gruul at 50 cent. Looks like black red has slightly overtaken. It's not that. Not that much, and most of the decks are pretty well together. This isn't. I'm pretty sure in Midnight Hunt, this was certainly not the case. Let me just pull it back up as we're talking about things in the Midnight Hunt. Everyone managed to. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, that's two color plus splash. It's like some of these dropped under 50, but the people right at 17 lands are really draft focused, and so. How does this play out? You have Gruul at 52%, and then the highest would be blue white at 59, where it's much more centered here in Crimson Vow. Yeah, you got a 52 at green white, but then the highest win rate is 2% less with the Rakdos. Interesting, nonetheless. So yeah, it's still though the green. It is kind of telling with red being quite good with being in the top two archetypes there, but I still kind of feel like. Green has the highest kind of payoff for when things go right. I still feel like there's just so much payoff in being able to pick up one of these just like super high powered bombs. And green is the only way that you can go about playing that, right? If we go into pack 3, you open a Toxtrol. You can still play him. He's hitting your deck no problem if you've been able to pick up a couple of I can never remember their name. A couple of Weaver of Blossoms, and then even if you don't have the big combos with the Weavers, they're still pretty good, right? He shuts down all the bears. Tapping for mana is important. It can kind of ramp you. There's always stuff to do with your mana in terms of blood tokens, and then I'm a big fan of these Weavers. But what I tend to think you see with these red decks is how do I best take advantage of the good removal? Like that would be the Flame Blessed Bolts and the Abrades, and both. Green red and black red take pretty good advantage of it, and then I guess I don't feel like there's too much going on with these decks. There's not like too many synergies. I think the big things to call out are these decks are pretty slow, right? You're going to be out here. None of these games went particularly quickly. I feel like we won like one game where we went like 2-3-4, and our opponent stumbled and we just ran over him, but. Majority of the time, that's not going to happen. You're going to win your games with green-red by just getting a ton of stats on the board, and you'll get your 2 and your 3 for 1s when your opponents have to double block your big werewolves, and they have to double block your flourishing hunters. They have to double block the things like that, and then you get a 2 for 1 out of a combat trick or a removal spell, or just the creature in and of itself. And so that's the way you're doing it. It'd be a lot like playing Demacia and Runeterras, to where you're getting your advantages through stats, and you're not getting your advantages through spells. And so that's the kind of big thing with these. I think my takeaway out of this one was I was actually reasonably happy with Spiked Ripsaw, kind of right with how these games go, to where they just go on forever. And we had very easily had like 8 and 9 mana pretty much every game. Just being able to turn a 2/3 into a 5/6 was extremely relevant. And we had lots of those occasions to where we could turn a 2/3 into a 5/6 and attack, and then put the Ripsaw onto something else. So I thought that was good. This card is generally garbage. We've gotten blown out by it by a few times, and I probably just got kind of salty about it because this card's typically just horrifically bad. But this feels like a format where it's okay. But yeah, not too much here otherwise. Again, like Flourishing Hunter is a pretty powerful bro. Having these things come down and gain between like 4 and 6 life can just take the wind right out of the sails of most of the more aggressively oriented decks, or just gives you time to catch back up. So these are some of the better late game cards. Of course, we would love to have a big epic or rare or mythic or something, but this fills the top end of the curve pretty nicely. You're most certainly looking for your top end to be Falconwrath Celebrants and the Flourishing Hunter. Otherwise, yeah, not too bad. Just to remember, you're not being aggressive. Don't go out of your way to take Howling Moons. And the big thing with the Weaver of Blossoms, again, it lets you stay open here. So if a big rare does show up, you have the opportunities to play it, and then if it doesn't show up, you still have a pretty reasonable creature. Not tough at all to spend your mana in this format. And so yeah, let's take a double take at this draft here real quick. I mean, this opening pack is kind of weird. Like the Howling Moon, I don't want to play this ever again. I don't feel like this was very good. I'm glad we got to try it. But I don't really like it. And so if we're not going to take the Howling Moon, though, like what do you end up taking out of this pack? It's either just a Lacerate Flesh or a Weaver of Blossoms. That's not very telling. I think the actual first pick out of this is probably just Weaver of Blossoms, but I wouldn't fault you for taking Lacerate Flesh. Here, though, I think even if you do start with the Weaver of Blossoms, you want to take the Child of the Pack second. It does put you in red-green. This is very good if the board stalls out, right? Just generating a bunch of tokens. Again, it's very easy to have. It seems like, I feel like in 75% of our games, we just like stopped playing mana at 7. Very easy to get 8. Very easy to just put 2 dudes on the board every turn, or to put a dude and a card to keep this on the front side. This is extremely, extremely powerful. Definitely one of the better cards available to us here. Raconteur, we didn't end up playing it, but there we did have some ideas with the Raconteur. I think it was okay to take, especially as we were trying to piece towards the Werewolves deck. I think though, if we had started with the mana tapper, we could have looked to take Sigarda's Summons here. I don't like the training deck. I think it's pretty meh. But if you're getting it this early, there's a world where maybe you want to dip your toes in and see how it goes. It's certainly more powerful than the likes of the Raconteur. There's just a ton of 4-drops. It's very easy to fill out the 4-drop space. It's like the 5s can be kind of hard to find, and the 6s can be kind of hard to find, but the 4s most certainly are not. So I could see a world where we take the Summons. Wanted to see also if we were just kind of like missing out. I like to just take the most powerful cards out of the packs, and I don't think we missed on that in this draft. So here we take the Runebound Wolf. It plays thematically with what we were trying to do. And at the end of the day, I was happy with, we ended up playing some filler 2-drops, so I think this was probably reasonable to take. Kind of seeing this Pyre spawn and being like, I wish I just had more big boys. But we did finish the day with 2 6-drops, so I think the Wolf here was fine. Again, when we have the Howling Moon and the Child of the Pack, picking up a Go Wide Wolf card is pretty good. And then the cards start to dry out. Lacerate Flesh is fine, but there's not any Esper cards we want. Ancestral Anger. Again, this was a bit of a reach. We probably should have just taken Evolving Wilds, but we don't want the Lightning Wolf here, right? These are pretty easy to pick up. I think we should have just taken the Evolving Wilds. I think this was this is the Ripsaw. I think there was another Evolving Wilds showing up shortly, though. There was, but we took the Weaver of Blossoms into Lightning Wolf. Maybe I kind of wish we would have taken the Sure Strike. We had one in our sideboard. It kind of felt like we would have wanted a second one, but didn't quite come together that way. All right, into pack 2. We open a high-powered land, the bombiest of the bombs in the Deathclap Glade. No, we have the Stalker again. A 3/3 for 3 is fine. All of this other stuff is upside. I know he feels kind of awkward, like trying to flash out 6 attack 3/3s because they just trade way down. But a 3/3 for 3 is always good enough. He's decent here. A very weak pack for us. We take the ideas of potentially splashing another color. I like the idea of the removal spell. The Braid is easy. What else we got? Weaver of Blossoms over the Hunter was fine, but I think we tabled this Hunter, right? Down here at pick 12. Is it pick 11 where that would be? I know we got one extremely late here. Yeah, it would be pick 11. Yeah, I think it was one of those. I can't figure that math out. Yeah, it was the pick 11 where the Hunter came up. That was fine. We pick up the Ridge Wolf as a curve filler. That's okay. The Mariner, I don't remember if we played. I don't think we want 2 Spike Ripsaws, though. These things are just like extremely bad as as something that you've drawn 2 copies of. So I think it's okay to let it go. We even end up playing this thing? I don't remember if we played the Mariner. It didn't seem like we drew it ever. But the Celebrants is certainly better. Curve filler, and then the cards are all gone. But we do pick up the late green thing. And so, yeah, I think this draft was fine. I think we didn't miss out on much by not playing the Lantern Flare and the removal spell in the white. And I thought we navigated that draft pretty well. It doesn't look like there was any Esper stuff that we really missed out on. And at the end of the day, I think our deck was fine. But again, it feels like it's kind of like a 4 winner. We didn't open up any of the high-powered stuff to turn it into a 6 or a 7 winner. And I feel like we just kind of fell a game short of that goal. So kind of is what it is, right? You're gonna run into a game where your mana fails you. You're gonna run into a bomb somewhere. Oh, we only get 3 packs for that. I feel like we should have more packs. Anyways, let's get this pack opened, and we'll call it a day out here. Ifart Shaman, you have proven yourself to be quite useful. I wonder what it's like to have a card that just generates a 3/3 every turn of the game. End of Aldaran Estate. So that is going to do it. Again, before we go, we will be on Twitch later today. If you're watching this on November the 19th, we'll be on Twitch around 10 a.m. Central Time. Look to be there from about 10 to 1 or so, about a 3-hour stream. Looks like we will be playing Magic the Gathering. Then of course, on Saturday and Sunday, we have our regular streams. That would be from 9 a.m. to noon Central. Both of those will be Magic as well. So, with that said, I hope everyone enjoyed the draft. You maybe learned how to get the werewolves, learn to worship the night a little bit better. Maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.